Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Office Hours here on Hosting.com's Agency Success. My name is Nathan Ingram, and I'm the agency trainer here at Hosting.com, and so glad to have you here for Office Hours. We have a special guest today, and that's Hans Skillrud from Termageddon. Hans is here because over the last several weeks, we've had a lot of questions and discussion in Office Hours from you folks, and just about a lot of the web privacy issues that are happening now, particularly CIPA, the California Invasion of Privacy Act. And so we reached out to Hans, and he was gracious enough to give us some time today to answer your questions right here live during Office Hours. So just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. We'll take as much time as we need today to deal with CIPA, but we should, I would guess, still have some time for regular Office Hours questions. So if you have a question for Hans related to web privacy, please use the Zoom Q&A for those questions. And even if you don't have a question, just open up that Q&A window and you can upvote the questions of others that you might also share. And we'll take those questions in the order of upvotes. But if you have a standard Office Hours question, the link for that is in the chat, same regular way. And we'll take the remaining questions there as we have time after the CIPA conversation. All right. So I'm really looking forward to this. I am really happy to have Hans with us today. I was trying to think over lunch today, Hans, when you and I met. It's probably been 10 years.
Yeah, close to it. Yeah,
it was right when you were starting Termageddon, and I think you had just sold your agency in Chicago, and you were launching Termageddon. So why don't you just give us a brief overview of what you do at Termageddon and how Termageddon helps agencies?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Hans. I'm one of the co-founders of Termageddon. I started this company with my wife, the smarter, better half of me. She's the privacy attorney and the real brains of the operation. But I was an agency owner, and I used to copy and paste privacy policies for my clients whenever they would ask me to. Never felt professional, but it was an ends to a means. And never felt right. And basically, I realized Donata kind of shared with me like, hey, you can offer an attorney's inexpensive option to get proper policies in place. It's the best option, but when you can't afford that, having a plan B is a good idea, and a generator could be that. So we started Termageddon as a plan B. Like if you can't afford an attorney to monitor privacy laws and keep your policies up to date, you can go with a tool like Termageddon. So Termageddon is an auto-updating website policy solution, but really our key focus is that we're built for agencies. I just wanted it to work the way I needed to work as an agency owner. So our core is agency partnerships. That's how we started. That's how we'll always be focused. We give agencies a free license forever for their own website in the hopes they're willing to try us out. And if you like what you see, you can make some recurring revenue offering our solution to your clients so they can get protected too. So I really like to think of Termageddon as a win-win-win across the board.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we found it really helpful in our agency as well. And this is not a commercial for Termageddon. This is, you folks know, like during office hours.
That'll be the end of it. From here on out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. It's one thing that Hans and I have done a number of live streams like this over the years. And I've always appreciated, Hans, your desire to educate agency owners about these privacy things because I mean, good grief. It's just another thing we have to know. And the amount of things that agency owners have to know today has stacked up to heaven practically. It's really hard and overwhelming. So I'm grateful for your expertise.
It means the world to me that you're giving me a chance to talk about privacy. I know it's not the most exciting conversation, but I feel like we have enough of an active audience that hopefully we can make this beneficial. Like my goal today will be, how do I understand what CIPA is, how to protect my clients from it, and move on so that this can be, it's stacking up all the things I got to know, but I'm hoping I can give you the bite-sized pieces of information that help you feel much more sturdy and grounded about what this is and how to protect a client with it.
Yeah. Excellent. So I'll take a kind of a running start to get us into CIPA because this really started, the discussion here began because probably about 6 weeks ago, one of my clients, I'm based in Birmingham, Alabama, one of my local clients, it's just a community newspaper. Like they publish pictures of the football team. It's one of those things. And, not millions of dollars of revenue or anything, but they've had Google Analytics on their site since it was put together 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they got this letter in the mail demanding thousands of dollars because, Google Analytics dropped a cookie on somebody's computer. Mm-hmm. And I had read some about CIPA. I mean, I really probably wasn't as up to speed on it as I should have been, but I got up to speed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I was grateful for your help as we were kind of fighting through that at the beginning. And I started talking about it at that point during office hours several weeks ago. So that sort of started this groundswell of conversation. So, Hans, tell us a little bit about CIPA,
Yeah.
what it is, and how it's being used today.
That sounds great. Being a good husband, I do want to note before I get into this, please note everything I share today is for informational purposes only, should not be considered legal advice. Always speak to your attorney before making legal decisions. Okay, so CIPA, the California Invasion of Privacy Act, is a privacy law created 30 years ago that wasn't even really intended for websites. It was to protect Californians from third parties eavesdropping on phone recordings or phone calls. If you stand back and think about it, that's actually a pretty cool privacy law. Like, hey, I'm a Californian. It is illegal to have me be on a phone call with someone and then there's some third party spying and listening in on the call. It's actually a pretty legit law. The problem is that the way the law is written, it's called a communication, and basically some opportunistic attorneys have realized this can apply to other things, in particular websites. Websites can listen behind the scenes, can have third parties listening behind the scenes, monitoring a visitor as they navigate through a website. Well, CIPA, unlike, I want to say all, but I'll say probably most, if not all, other privacy laws, the consequence is not a government giving a fine, it is private right of action, meaning that consumers of California have the right to sue anyone who's infringed on their privacy rights. So we have an opportunistic group of attorneys that are going out and seemingly scanning the internet for websites that have third-party tracking technologies running behind the scenes where they, as a website visitor, weren't able to consent to it first prior to those trackers loading. So there's a lot of words in that. But basically, like put it into layman's terms as an agency, we implement third-party tracking tools all the time. Perfect example is Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a third-party tracking technology. It gives you analytics, but let's be real. In exchange, I'm sure Google uses that data to their own benefit as well.
No.
Yeah, right? Yeah, no, yeah. But there's also Facebook Pixel, LinkedIn Tag. We have been embedding third-party scripts since the beginning. And what has happened because of CIPA is that now we need to make sure we get consent first from those website visitors, in particular from California, prior to you loading those third-party scripts. And that brings into question like the cookie consent banner. Having a banner in place that will properly block those technologies and only load after the user gives what's called explicit consent, meaning they clicked accept all, allowing you to take their data and share it with third parties. So I kind of just went through everything that I wanted to summarize today, but hopefully through Q&A and through talking this out further, this will even be more and more clear. But is the baseline, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's a great explanation. And the interesting thing about this is I see a lot of conversation in social media and other places where people are relating this to the old. If you've been around web forever, it's the old Getty Images letter, right? Like
Mm,
this was a deal, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe a little bit earlier than that, where people they just used the Google image search and they pulled an image, not knowing it was copyright. They slapped it on their website. And then the client out of the blue gets this demand letter for thousands of dollars because they used a copyright image. And in that case, yeah, like you used a copyright image, you broke the law, whether you realized it or not. And this is actually even kind of similar because technically you break the law by installing a tracking cookie on a California user's computer without their consent. And it's hard because this has been sort of a regular, normal industry standard piece of technology,
yeah.
but it legally it's a breach of CIPA. Is that a good way to?
Nailed it. Yeah, you absolutely nailed it. It's third-party tracking. And I'm sure there will be questions around this, but it's like, I'm not even based in California. What the heck? Therein lies the benefit. Like, that is what privacy laws are about. Privacy laws protect people. They don't care where you, the business owner, is located. What they're out to do is protect people's data. So CIPA protects Californians. So it doesn't matter where I'm located. I'm in Chicago, but CIPA could apply to me if I am tracking potentially tracking visitors from California. And that's such an important aspect of privacy laws and what Termageddon's all about, really, or what any good, that's not a pitch for Termageddon. That's just like what privacy is about is a website owner, we need to find out what laws apply to us because that will dictate all the disclosures you need to make now under all these regulations. And a perfect example is CIPA. Like you could be based in Alabama, but if your website's available and accessible to Californians, having a consent banner at least visible to them it would certainly be a good move. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's talk about solutions here because it's not enough just to have a privacy policy and a terms of service or
Correct.
even a cookie policy on your site. It's
Correct.
not the documents that are the protective action, right? So what does protect the site from being, vulnerable to these CIPA claims?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's three ways in which I think you could approach it. Number one is to have a consent banner. I mean, if you're just like, hey, I need Google Analytics, I need Facebook Pixel, I need LinkedIn Tag, and all the other third-party scripts, which we can go through in more detail if anyone has any questions about what's a third-party script or not. I need those things. Okay, well, at the very least, you should be setting up your consent banner to be visible to people from California, not to mention Canada, including Quebec, the EU, and the UK, because they also have privacy laws requiring this stuff. And if you're a big business, you may even have to display a consent banner in more places. But broad strokes purposes, the consent banner is the solution because what does a properly built consent banner do? It will block third-party scripts from loading, and only after a user gives what's called an explicit action, like a legal basis where they explicitly consented, meaning they clicked accept all, a properly built consent banner will be like, oh, sweet, now I can load in those third-party scripts. I see site after site where it's like, hey, by visiting this website, we use cookies, deal with it. And you have like an okay button. There's no purpose to that banner. Like you're not compliant. You might as well not even have that banner. It's not doing anything. A properly built consent banner should block those scripts, only let them load after consent is obtained. That cuts that literally prevents all the SIPA demand letters and all the problems. I mean, well, anyone can sue for any reason, but you'll be able to show like, hey, look, yeah, you'd be able to defend yourself because yeah. So blocking third-party scripts, only let them load after you get consent. Solution number one. Solution number two, convert over to a privacy-friendly approach for your website. In my agency days and in Termageddon, I cannot tell you how many people are like, I've never looked at my Google Analytics account, or I can't remember the last time I looked at it. Get rid of Google Analytics and switch over to a privacy-focused analytics plugin. There are free analytics plugins that you just install and activate, boom. And now you have a dashboard that no one's ever going to look at, but it's, you're not sharing data with a third-party tracking technology anymore. So when you can implement privacy-friendly alternatives, do that. Implement a privacy analytics plugin instead of Google Analytics. If you ran a Facebook ad campaign from 4 years ago, but you got that pixel still loading, get rid of it. I cannot stress enough. That's been one of the biggest reasons why people have been coming to us. Oh my God, I just got the SIPA letter and it's from a Facebook pixel that we forgot about from 4 years ago. Like I every time I get someone reaching out to me like that, an agency owner, I feel like I'm myself had I not married a privacy attorney because I'm like, I wouldn't have known this. I forgot about every pixel I've added to a website. That error has to change sooner than later. You got to audit what's on the site. And so solution one, get a consent tool. So alternative number two is replace third-party scripts with first-party privacy-friendly alternatives. Many of them, if not all of them, there's free options out there. And
Yeah.
then three, from Beth, and laugh because this is so Beth. But yeah, you could absolutely block traffic from California. In fact, like the Alabama, the example you gave me, the Alabama local like thing posting like public football scores and stuff. Man, there might be a case just to block traffic from California in that situation. So when it makes sense, yeah, blocking traffic from those areas could be a way to address it as well. I want to put one asterisk there, which is that could be a slippery slope because it isn't just California. There's like over a dozen other states with privacy laws, so you may still need to be required to comply with those. Canada, the list goes on and on. The
Yeah.
era of regulations is coming, so by you blocking one state or one country now might seem easy, but before you know it, you might just be like deteriorating your potential as in making business. Like I'd vote for just embracing it, embracing the regulations, and either addressing it by using privacy-friendly alternatives or consent solution. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a lot of wisdom there, folks. And that one thing I just want to reemphasize is that simply, and this is Termageddon's solution, which we use as an agency, or any other, there are other cookie consent solutions out there. It's not enough just to install the plugin and you're done. You
No.
have to verify it and look in your inspector and make sure no cookies are loading until they accept. Like there's a process, which is why, we charge a setup fee. Like actually, what Termageddon recommends. We charge a setup fee to do that because it does take time to make sure it is actually blocking cookies. Because, like you just said, Hans, a cookie blocker that doesn't block cookies is, there's no need for it. You might as
Yeah,
well not have it.
exactly. And I'm so happy to hear you say that, Nathan. Like we're making more effort to encourage testing. And it's just like anything when you add to a website, you got to test it. And yeah, cookie consent, you want to test the cookies. And so like on our embed codes page, there's a link on exactly how to test. And I've come to realize it's like eye-opening for all of us. Like, oh, I never even thought to like right click inspect. There's literally a cookies tab that you can look at and see cookies loading or not. And I'll tell you, it's extremely satisfying once you get it like working and you can prove that it's working. And so, yeah, testing absolutely essential. And working with like a consent provider that is clearly focused on this stuff, I would highly encourage. It is so sad seeing a lot of our competitors still talk about CPRA, which is a different California privacy law,
Yes.
otherwise known as CCPA. That law directly conflicts with CIPA, by the way, directly conflicts.
Of course it
Of
does.
course it does. Exactly. Yeah, California is just putting us in business, that's for sure. But, 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 um, but for just be cautious about working with a company. Oh, I see a Pipetta call out. Sorry. Shanta Pipeta. Yeah.
Yes.
We interviewed the founder or the person who wrote that law. But anyways, sorry. It's important to work with someone who's actively talking about CIPA and knows it in and out because unfortunately there's still a lot of our competitors that just haven't talked about it, which is just so mind blowing to me. It's been happening now for over 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So one thing I want to call attention to here it was a key piece of the communication that we made with our clients around this is if you are running Google Analytics, right, and you are we have several organizations that we support that are national organizations, and they do want traffic from every state and even other, Canada and other countries. When you put a cookie banner in, it's going to impact your Google Analytics traffic because I don't know what the rate is. Probably half or more don't accept cookies or they just clear it without accepting. And so that traffic doesn't get tracked. Any wisdom on how to communicate about that, Hans?
Yeah, absolutely. I got tons of thoughts with it. One, you can use like our geolocation feature to only display the consent tool to visitors in California, Canada, EU, and UK, for example, if those are the laws that apply to you. Therefore, visitors from Alabama will just be auto accepted. So that alone probably would rebound that reported traffic immediately. The other thought, though, is that Google, because of privacy laws, deployed something called Google Consent Mode, where if you load tags through Google Tag Manager, so like if you're loading Google Analytics through Google Tag Manager, you can use this tool, or you can set up this connection called Google Consent Mode. It's the bridge between a consent banner and Google Tag Manager. So Google Tag Manager knows which tags to fire. Let me give you, I think it's best in an example. If I visit a website that has Google Tag Manager that loads in Google Analytics and Google Ads, if I visit a website and in the consent banner, I say, I accept Google Analytics, but I decline Google Ads, that granular level of data needs to be passed into Google Tag Manager so Google Tag Manager knows, oh, fire Google Analytics, but don't fire Google Ads. That concept is what Google Consent Mode is, ensuring that we get explicit consent to load those individual services. The reason why I share this all is because Google launched something called Google Advanced Consent Mode, and it gives you implied data. It gives you more data than just strictly losing data. There's some privacy purist concerns, which I go into deeper. I'm happy to do it now if you want me to, but there's some privacy purist questions about, questioning Google advanced consent mode. But that's what the vast majority of people are doing who are heavily reliant on analytics data. But then comes reality, which is like, hey, look, like, they're like, I want more data. I want more data. Like, okay, are you willing to sign off on the legal repercussions if that happens? I can have it load no matter what. I just want to make sure. Are you okay with like when the door comes knocking, someone's suing? Are you going to take responsibility? That's the number one thing. a great example is whenever I talk to a third-party marketing department and they're so upset to see a consent banners installed because they're losing data, and they're like, "Well, you don't really need this," or California is only an opt-out banner, which is wrong. CIPA's opt-in. You need to be opted out by default. I always return, be like, okay, no problem. Just to confirm, are you taking the legal responsibility if there is a lawsuit issue? All of a sudden, though, you hear crickets, um, and I share that to just be. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to bridge reality. It's like, are we wanting to run this ethically right and legally right, or are we wanting to kind of, risk it? In my opinion, we as agencies should just be able to explain the consequence, the pros and cons of each side, and let them make that decision. Does that kind of help, Nathan?
That does. And I think, it bears, I think everyone, if you're dealing with clients in your agency who are using Google Ads or you're using Google Tag Manager to drop the cookies on to the browser, then you probably should get up to speed on how Google consent mode works.
Yeah,
It's an extra thing,
it
but
is.
it's important. Like if you're going to use Google Tag Manager, that's some of the things you need to understand and start to implement. So one of the things you mentioned, Hans, was using.
Nathan,
Go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry. I just want to add one more detail to your
Yeah,
previous question. Um, Loss of reported analytics. Well, how could we counter this? Install a privacy-friendly analytics alternative.
exactly where I was going.
So,
Yeah,
so that way no matter you're getting all the basic data coming in, and then I would argue just get rid of Google Analytics. But for the ones who want the Google Analytics, be like, privacy will give you total traffic, but then Google is going to give you, for the people that have consented, you're going to be able to see their interactions on the website. So
yeah. And so one of the tools we've been recommending since the CIPA conversation, and by we I mean me, have been recommending since the CIPA conversation started happening, is a great free little plugin on WordPress.org called Independent Analytics. It works great. It's super user friendly, and the free version gives you all the basic things that a typical small brochure site would even need.
that's great.
Um, so that's you. If
And
you're going to replace Google Analytics, there is a free alternative. It's a first party solution, so it's not dropping a cookie, and so you're not, at least currently, having to worry about any of these CIPA issues.
we should never have to worry about it. Why? Because independent analytics is a first party installation. You're not like connecting, you're not connecting to third party independent analytics. You're installing a first party plugin. So there's no data ever being sent to Google, to independent analytics. So that's such an important piece, which is when third parties are involved, CIPA could be involved. So that's the big indicator. So first party plugins that don't share data with third parties, amazing, amazing. You completely cut the legs out from these, attorneys. So
That's a great rule of thumb. Yeah.
yeah,
So I've got a couple more things I want to talk about, and then we'll
yeah.
pivot to questions. I think the 30-minute time frame was a pipe dream
Oh,
on this conversation.
I can go on and on. Yeah, please,
Good.
please.
So the first question is, and some folks had asked this in a previous office hours, and I had no idea, but uh, what if a California resident uses a VPN so it looks like they're coming in from somewhere else, but they're actually a California resident?
Yeah, so that is super fringy, is the best way to put that. Like, I don't know if there's any like cases of someone pretending that they're from somewhere else and then what are their rights? Because, and so I would say like, again, not legal advice, but I wouldn't be that concerned about these fringe cases of people pretending there to be someone else. Like, I feel like there's a strong argument to defend yourself against something like that, where it's like you were literally pretending to be somewhere else, located somewhere else. How, like, are you wanting me to reinvent the internet to appease you? So I would be much more focused on just getting the core pieces done and like, okay, yeah, if you end up getting picked for the one guy from Ohio who VPN'd in is from California to pretend he's Californian to try to snag some money from you, at least you're going to be famous. Like you'll be famous in the privacy industry. Like you will be discussed about. But I would say be much more focused on just doing the right thing and getting proper consent. And the reason why I say this is because Virginia has an opt-out privacy banner requirement. So you can be opted in by default under Virginia, VCDPA, but with CIPA, you have to be opted out by default. So
Mm.
if you're VPNing in, you're removing the website's ability to determine what do I need to show you to comply with the respective law that's located in those areas. And that's why I think a website owner would have such a case against someone like that. I can't prove it because we don't have court studies, but like in my mind, that makes complete sense. Like if you're pretending you're someone else coming into my website, like how am I supposed to know who you truly are? Like it's just, I don't think that's possible. So yeah,
Yeah.
I've answered. It's too. I would say it's super fringy. Focus on just finding out what laws apply to you, comply with those applicable laws, and for people pretending to be there somewhere else, I don't know exactly how that goes down. But I don't think
Yeah.
they would have much of a case.
I
Uh,
mean, you would think that a judge would look at that and go, come on, man. But they
exactly.
looked at CIPA and said, okay, and they're allowing these
That's
demands.
true. Yeah, and we actually so when SIPA came out, we pretty much I don't want to say we broke the news because like a couple people report on CNN getting SIPA demand letters, but I want to think we broke the news on small business owners being targeted. And we interviewed one of the main people defending business owners against SIPA demand letters, and he said you can go to court and in that same day with the same judge with the same case, you get two different answers. It is that wild right now. But I will say SIPA is very different than what I'm sharing. SIPA, it is a law. It's like you're tracking third parties, you're using third party trackers. You're from a California resident, you're pretty much in trouble. This VPN thing is more like you're pretending you're someone else. I think that like I don't know. I think you'd have a strong case against someone pretending to be someone else and trying to complain. But
Yeah. So one more thing, we'll turn to Q&A. And again, folks, if you have a question for Hans, please use the Zoom Q&A for that. I am anticipating we probably won't have time for regular office hours questions today, but we'll keep all those that you've asked for next week. And this is one I think that might pertain to everybody here listening. And that is in our regular process, Hans, over the years, like many agencies, we just install Google Analytics. Like that's part of the scope of work.
yep,
It's a standard tool. The clients often they don't know about it, they don't check it. I mean, it's listed in the scope of work, but it's
hmm
they so I felt like I have significant liability, whether legal liability or just like I don't want to do this to my clients because we made this decision, right? And maybe they accepted it in a proposal, but not they didn't understand the implications. And
agreed.
so that's why I felt the absolute necessity to communicate to this about all my to all my clients. So any thoughts on that?
Yes, definitely. So the era we are now going into, as a result of privacy laws in general, but CIPA is certainly accelerating it to the next level because it's very real now. Is that we first and foremost we have to understand clients are the owners of the website unless your contracts say I own the website, which I wouldn't recommend. But clients are the owners of the website, so ultimately it lands on them. With that being said, could you have a very upset client that tries to blame you for things? 100%. So what do we need to do? We need to accept reality, which is that whenever we have third-party scripts being embedded into a website, our alarm bells need to be going off. Be like, I need to inform the customer of this, inform them that there's potential legal requirements of this, and let them agree to it. Let them decide what they want to do. But where we can sleep at night is where what I'm kind of envisioning is almost like we each have like Airtable or a spreadsheet even that's like here's each site and here's all the third party scripts embedded into it and you have like kind of like a main homeland of that. I mean Google Tag Manager could kind of be that way too, but what needs to happen is we need to be educating clients. If you're adding third-party scripts, you have a note. Third-party scripts. This has legal implications. You may be required to comply with laws because of this. We have some solutions on how to address this, but please note, like whenever you're adding there's also the issue of clients logging into their website and adding things without your knowledge, where they'll add something in. So I would say bringing education around third-party scripts and like almost having like a box dedicated to here's all the third-party scripts in your site, and that I think will really create clarity for both the agency and the client. So it's like one place to see all the scripts and that you've effectively communicated that to them too.
Yeah. One surprise that I had on a site that had some additional cookies showed up in the inspector when we were looking at it, and there were Facebook cookies,
hmm
and it was from an older site, and we had embedded the Facebook little box, that shows people and how many people liked it. We don't do that anymore and haven't for years, but that drops a third party cookie. Like those are the kinds of things that could trigger a problem.
YouTube video embeds. When you
YouTube video
Yeah,
embeds.
when you embed a YouTube video, even without, let's say you have an embedded YouTube video and I visit your website and I haven't even clicked play, YouTube's already tracking you. Um,
Yeah.
pretty gnarly. What's the
And Google
solution?
Maps, same way.
Google Maps. Yep, exactly. What's the solution? Load YouTube, load a local version of the video. Don't, and a lot of people are like, oh, page load speed, page load speed. Like, okay, put it on a separate server, load it locally, load it that way so that a third party tracker isn't involved, or get consent to loading the YouTube video.
Right.
Or choose to be non-compliant and risk, whatever you want to risk. Which is, I don't mean to say that to be rude. I just that's the other, that's this other side of the coin.
The reality. Yeah.
Yeah. I
All right.
choose
Well,
the
let's.
risk. Best said.
Oh, we should make t-shirts. Okay, let's move to some questions. And speaking of Beth, she's up first here. Again, if you have a question that you haven't asked yet, please use the Zoom Q&A to do that. Beth's question is, she says, I no longer care to serve anyone in California. How can I sidestep this stupid law? And we did ask, you've answered that in a big way, or in several ways already, Hans. But one thing we talked about a couple of weeks ago was, I'm not quite sure of a technology that would know that someone's coming from a particular state that would be easy to implement into WordPress to just block traffic. Do you?
Not implement into WordPress, but Cloudflare. Set up Cloudflare where I think it's WAF rules, WAF, and you can block traffic from California or any country for that
Through a
matter.
Cloudflare WAF rule.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, I'll look into that.
Anyone in comments, I've been out the game for maybe 10 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Cloudflare WAF rules would allow you to do that.
I know you
And
can block by country. If you can block by state, I'll be very happy.
okay,
That'd be
I'm
great.
pretty sure on that, but yeah, maybe, yeah, if someone could maybe cross-reference that.
Yeah, somebody can.
There are so many questions in here. If you want to rapid fire, I'm happy to rapid fire answer.
Great.
Whatever you prefer, man.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Sue here. This is my fundamental question. If I install Termageddon, have I covered the website reasonably for all common possibilities?
No. So this goes back to that concept of, look, I wish there was an easy button. I do. I would make more money if there was an easy button, but no, like going through Termageddon is kind of a grueling process. Why? Because all these privacy laws are written differently. They all have different disclosure requirements. Like we don't ask questions for fun. We ask them because there's some government somewhere that's asked this stuff. So the reason why I say no right away is because I don't want Termageddon nor any product to ever be looked at from a legal perspective, being like, oh, if I just get going, I'm good. Like, no, you should take the time to truly understand what you're getting yourself involved in. We are dedicated to providing the best support we possibly can. And so if you have questions, come to us. Like we will try to help you answer them. And I'm not trying to sound scary here. I'm just saying that we can't just put the blanket over our eyes and just kind of blindly do this stuff. No, we got to not only take the time to truly answer these questions to the best of our abilities, but then test things, as Nathan was sharing too. Like you're installing a new technology in the website, you need to do some basic testing. And the good news is we provide tons of resources on how to do all this stuff and be successful in it. But to make, I guess, Sue feel better, if you do it right, yes, 100% you're good. You just gotta, you just don't do it loosely. Just take the time to do it properly.
Yeah, good. Sue, is that satisfactory? You can follow up with something in the chat if there's something else you'd like to know. Let's see. Kristen would like to know, what is the best and most thorough way to scan a website for cookies and test the implementation of a privacy tool to ensure it's working properly for privacy and cookie acceptance?
Yeah, right click the website, go to application, cookies. That literally will tell you if cookies are loading or not. Nothing is more pure than just looking up what cookies are loading. So in our instruction, our testing guide, we show how to do this, but just open a website in a fresh incognito window, right click inspect, go to application cookies, and you will see the cookies loading on your website. Yeah, thank you, Nathan.
Let's take a quick look right here.
Yeah.
So we'll go to inspect and hit application, and right here under cookies,
Perfect.
You will see a whole load of cookies that are loading. A lot of this is because I'm logged into WordPress.
Yeah, you're logged. This is a cached version, but the big ones. So there's some first party cookies, and that the CIPA, it's about third party trackers. So GA is the big ones right there. Those are the ones that you would want to be the most concerned about getting consent to. Cloud. I see some Cloudflare and
yeah, that's going to be the clear for the managed challenge for Cloudflare.
Yeah, for sure. And so the ones that the attorneys are going after right now are analytics and advertising related tracking technology. That would be priority number one. But like WooCommerce, WordPress, these are all first party.
Right. And these, I had to look this up, but this SBJS is It's something from WooCommerce reporting that I
Is that
found out.
SourceBuster JS?
I don't know. It
Pretty sure
may
that's
be. It
SourceBuster.
may be.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's
that's first
related to
party as well.
WooCommerce.
Yeah,
Hmm.
first party as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really that simple. And this is how you test if the Termageddon cookie tool is actually blocking cookies, is you can see
That's
it right
right.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I think so many times we as agencies we want to use like some tool that just tells us it, and that's look, I get that. There's a security feeling of it, but scanners can be wrong, and that's why I'm such an advocate of first and foremost, you need to know what's installed in the website. That's level one. Just know what scripts you've copied and pasted into a website. I know that's hard. It's so easy for me to say that now that I'm out the agency game. So easy, but that's step one is just know what scripts you've added to the site because if we're the only ones adding stuff to the site, what we need and what we shared this earlier, you need to have that documented now. So long as you have that documented, you should be able to know before those cookies load which ones would be loading.
Yeah, indeed. Dave mentions in the chat, just following up here, he says he has some YouTube videos linked. Now, Dave, do you mean linked, just like click here and it goes over to YouTube, or do you mean embedded? Because a linked video is not going to drop a hyperlink won't drop a cookie, but the embed
Yes.
will.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
for YouTube, for everyone listening, you can change any youtube.com domain to nocookieyoutube.com or something like that. Maybe someone can find the exact phrase, but you can replace a URL from youtube.com/ID to, I think it's youtube-nocookies.com, something like that. But that's a more privacy friendly version, and I would recommend that over everything.
Interesting. Interesting. Um, Ben has a really good question in the chat. So we showed, I'm gonna go back to my screen here. We showed this screen with all these cookies. And
Mhm.
so how do you tell if it's first party or third party?
So for me, it's just experience. Sometimes domain under domain, the third column that will reference uh, the actual third party domain, but also, so I've never actually. I've just known this from experience. Like GA is Google Analytics, FBP
Yeah.
is Facebook Pixel, but I do know that you can also. Can you click the network tab and refresh the page? And then type in Google in the filter, just below
Oh, sorry. Yep.
Google.
If I can type correctly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think this is it right here. This is another method to do it where if you see a 200 to a third party, okay, that's Google Fonts, which is
Yep.
yet another third party script.
Another.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. And so I believe it's the network tab where you can actually see the what's firing and date when data is being sent off to these third parties as well. So
Yeah.
um, hopefully that helps. That's not like a super superb answer. I mean, I guess I'm more of a short order cook. It's like I either see cookies load or I don't, and it's when I consent or when I don't. So
Right. Really good. Okay, next up is Paul. When someone does click and accept, is it okay via Termageddon or anything else that information saved? Is that information saved anywhere so acceptance can be proven? That's a good
yes.
question.
Yeah, that what we're talking about is consent logs. And so yes, in fact, Nathan, do you mind sharing your screen again? And let's
Sure.
head over to termagen.com, maybe do a fresh incognito window so our
Hmm.
consent banner displays. And this is not just Termagen, this is just anyone, but oh, thank you, Phoebe, for the YouTube dash no cookie. Thank you.
All right, Termageddon.com.
Yeah. Excellent. And then the consent banner, click more information and then click services and scroll to the very bottom and expand the ID to request consent data.
Ah,
So
look at that.
so if someone were, if CIPA person like were to reach out and stuff, and you had the consent banner and you've tested it, and be like, all right, well, please send me your consent log, your consent ID, so I can get the consent logs and see what you've consented to. So like, it's we have so many customers these days using Termageddon. It's extremely rare when something like this happens. But if it were to happen, you would request that ID, send it to us, we would send back the consent logs. We are wanting to bring the consent logs right into the dashboard. It's just so extremely rare when we get a question from a customer that we just haven't had a sense of urgency to do it. So right now
Yeah.
it's just a manual request when it does happen. So
Yeah. It's a great question, Paul. Thanks for asking that.
mhm.
Okay, Stacy, I can remove Google Analytics for my biggest client who is in California. However, she loves Google Search Console. Well, first of all, does Google Search Console drop a cookie? I don't think it
No.
does.
No. Search Console is how do I tell Google to understand my website? There's nothing cookie related. Criminal. I mean, I've been out the game for 10 years, but yeah, I don't. Google Analytics, Google Search Console, two completely different products. Google Analytics to get analytics from your website, visitor interactions, Google Search Console to basically submit a sitemap and tell Google, hey, my site exists, please index me.
Yeah.
So,
Google Search Console is a window into the data Google already has about the website. It's not browser based. You're looking at Google's mound of data.
yeah, good call.
Okay. Beth, this is a specific Termageddon question. Can I transfer the privacy policy accounts I manage for clients to another developer? I'm sick of all the changing laws.
Well, yeah, you can transfer it to another developer, but a lot of times agencies will either want to start reselling or they want to do the referral. They like change their plans. You can do if you search our support portal for the word transfer, you'll see instructions on how to transfer a license, whether it be to the website owner or to another agency. Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
We have some
Uh,
partners with thousands of customers, so if you need a recommendation, you can reach out to us. I'm sure there'd be someone happy to take in the recurring revenue. So.
mhm. Paul, why would I want to use my own attorney instead of using Termageddon? That never even crossed my mind. Yeah,
So I am obviously a bit biased in my opinion. I think Termageddon covers over 125 privacy laws, rules, and regulations spanning 5 different countries. But my wife told me always recommend an attorney over everything else. So I will be here to say an attorney is always better than anything else. But um, uh, yeah, I'll be honest. Like in my mind, I think it's kind of ridiculous to think an attorney is going to have to be like, all right, let's sit you down and see which of these 50 privacy laws apply to you. Let's see which of these consumer laws apply. Then let me read all these laws and figure out what exact disclosures you need to make. And then let me monitor privacy laws and keep it up to date over time. As you can see, I'm a little bit biased in my opinion. Yeah, in my biased opinion, I think Termageddon is you need software at this point in time to keep up to date with this stuff.
yeah,
But that said, you got 500K a year laying around to hire a suite of attorneys. You're going to get a better output if you have those types of funds. But yeah,
yeah. And Melanie just mentioned something in the chat that I'll also echo. We have about half a dozen attorneys whose websites we manage, and they all chose Termageddon
yeah,
rather
law
than
firms.
trying to write it themselves.
Yeah, law firms are, to our surprise, one of our biggest audiences ever.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
$119 a year. An attorney bills 5 times that an
yeah,
hour. Like, why would anyway?
for sure. Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, class. If a client doesn't want to deal with this, is it an option to have them sign a disclaimer of some sort to protect my business? Uh-huh. Tell them about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely. So we have a website policies waiver. I know it's been integrated into monster contracts too. I would say even if they want it, sorry, let me rephrase this. I think sending a waiver, regardless of what they want, is important. And so I'm gonna put that link in the chat. If you're not even an agency partner, it's all good. Like, welcome to our hidden agency partner resources area. But that link will bring you to a waiver. Just remove Termageddon if you don't want to recommend us. But get it documented that you informed your customers, hey, look, I built contacts forms for you. I installed analytics tools for you. This is stuff that collects data and shares data. That does not mean I am responsible for your legal compliance. Please sign this waiver acknowledging I informed you of this. That way, when you're building websites that are facing the regulations of the future, you're getting signatures prior to site launch, like, I have it documented that I informed them of this. And whether or not you recommend term again, I just recommend that for our industry as a whole. You got to get it documented that you inform them of these requirements. Our
Without
industry
a
is
doubt.
regulated, just embrace it.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's resources like these that make me like I'm not even Termageddon is the solution that we chose immediately for these issues. And let me just I was going to mention this earlier. I'm going to say it now. There are other tools out there. Okay, like there's one on AppSumo right now. But if you dig in, and this is me talking, if you dig into who they are and what they offer, they say they work with lawyers. Great. What does that mean? Uh, Hans, you're married to a person who's the chair of the e-privacy committee of the American Bar Association. Like Donata's got some chops, right?
Yeah, dude, I married up. She's now writing laws on behalf of the United Nations to various countries. So yeah, I married up for sure. And you know what? Such a fun one. This has been lately just been. So there's a law called CCPA. It was changed to CPRA. So if you're vetting a company and they're saying CCPA, don't like you should just run because like it's now called CPRA. So like that's such a good litmus test. Not to mention, I can't tell you how many people push that law on people, even though you have to make 25 million or more or cross a bunch of other thresholds for that law to even apply. But just it's just like selecting the right vendor is just like anything else. You got to do some research. Like don't be like a mosquito to the light thinking, oh, they have a free thing, so therefore they must be perfect. Like I'm perfectly good to comply with all laws because they have something for free. Typically that's not the case, and I would say in most situations. But yeah, just take your time to research. Are these people dedicated to the industry and to helping people? Do they seem very serious about what they're doing too?
Yeah.
So.
And folks, we've got about 12 minutes left in the hour. So let me just invite everybody, if you haven't done so already, to look at the list of questions in the Q&A. I don't think we're going to get to all of them. There's still 13 questions open. But make sure you upvote the questions that you want to see the answer to. And do that now as we get to the next question, which comes from Paul. So how come regular cookies are not considered tracking, or are they? That's a great question.
Yeah, it is a great question. So cookies, first and foremost, cookies are not a bad thing. They are, they literally help you stay logged in to a website. Like as we saw Nathan sharing his screen, he was logged into the back end of his site. If there weren't cookies, there would be no login. Like you would have to every single time you want to go to another page, you'd have to re-log in. So cookies are not a bad thing. What is happening is that regulations are being put in place saying, oh wow, I didn't realize we were being tracked just by visiting a website, or, I didn't realize all my data was being harvested and taken to third parties just because I visited a website. And because of that kind of like that aha moment that these governing bodies realize, like, oh my gosh, there's all this data being harvested from our own people, they put regulations in place saying, okay, if you're doing all this data harvesting, you need to make disclosures. So cookies are just one aspect of those disclosures. There's so much that goes into privacy, but cookies, there's first party cookies and third party cookies. If you're tracking users, there's some laws where you even have to consent to those first party cookies. But as time has progressed, and in this particular with CIPA, it is the third party cookies that everyone seems to be up in arms about. It is when third parties are tracking the website visitor that's when complaints come in and people get upset. So getting consent to first party cookies could be required, like under GDPR, for example, but the complaints from GDPR, the lawsuits from CIPA, at least that I'm aware of, correct me if anyone says I'm wrong here, but it's third party cookies, third party trackers that cause the uproar and the upsetness when they're like, you didn't tell me you had some secret third party listening in on me. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, great. Let's see. Ben is next. When will Termageddon get translated to Swedish?
So, Ben, we had to do quite a bit to prepare ourselves to support multi-language. First step was literally rebuilding our entire app, which we deployed in the summer of last year. We have a big update coming this summer. I can't unfortunately share much more at this time, but we have a big update coming this summer, at which point in time we're going to have the foundation set up to go multi-language. Now, between now and then, we do have the ability to add Swedish to the consent banner. We do have multi-language support for the consent banner. You have to manually submit a ticket to request it. We can add Swedish, and then if you can use like a translator tool for our policies, you can do Termageddon from a makeshift perspective currently. But with my name being Hans and my blonde hair and blue eyes, I promised my grandma we will be in Sweden soon. So I promise you that. So
That's great. And I'll just say, from my perspective, I've told you this already, just between you and me, Hans, but the update to the Termageddon dashboard is spectacular. It is so much better than it was before.
So much.
Yeah,
I lost all the remaining hairline I had with that.
I can imagine. Okay, let's see. From Melanie, when adding Termageddon with the cookie policy on site that runs Google Ads, what do we need to let our clients and sometimes their third-party marketing company know?
Yeah. So first off, they said cookie policy. I'm pretty sure they meant cookie consent. It's important. There's laws that require a cookie policy, or at least cookie disclosures, which we put in a cookie policy. And then there's the cookie consent banner. I think as a whole, our industry kind of intermingles those words, but those are very different things. So the consent banner, when I hear marketing and Google Ads, I instantly think Google Tag Manager. I'll just about guarantee that marketing company is using Google Tag Manager. So what do you need to inform them? To set up compatibility with Google Consent Mode. Now, It's actually shockingly simple. You just replace the Google Tag Manager script in the header with the new consent mode script, and you change two settings in your Termageddon license, and you already have what's called Google Advanced Consent Mode set up for all Google related tags. So it's literally a two-step process for probably 90% of Google Tag Manager users. If you are loading Facebook Pixel, Microsoft Clarity, Hotjar through Google Tag Manager, you have to do one extra step. But I would just say go to our support portal, search the word consent mode. You'll see the exact article that you would share with yourself or with marketing.
Yeah, great. Um, let's see. Beth
That's all. I'll
says,
add it to the chat.
thank you. Beth is asking, can someone in a foreign country actually sue me?
So I've gotten this question over the years. I guess I would just say like I would be I don't know if that's even a game I want to play. Like, like why in best sorry to call you out. I know you're your friend, we're friends, so I'm gonna give you a little hard time here, but like I get a sense that Beth is wanting to resist what is happening, that these regulations are here. And I understand it because it's a lot to take in initially, but I can't help but encourage it, rather instead of like trying to fight against it, embrace it because it's here. And like if we're blocking visitors from California, we're like, oh, they can't sue me. They're in another country. Like we're setting ourselves up for more and more risk. I feel like we're rather than we can just embrace the stuff, get proper consent, have proper policies, and move on in life. So my recommendation is my answer to your question is I don't really know how that goes down. I've heard that you could lose your ability to travel to that country. I've heard various things like you could be arrested upon arriving in that country. I all I know is like I just don't ever want to deal with a lawsuit from someone from a different country. And so I revert back to just get things set up right from the start and just move on in life is my
Yeah,
recommendation.
absolutely. Elizabeth asks, can you use both Google Analytics and independent analytics at the same time? And you absolutely can.
No, you can use
Uh,
them together.
mhm.
Yeah.
Doesn't impact anything. We have sites that have been using both. Shanta says our company's business is based and targeted to Canadians. Do we need to worry or act on this law?
So Canada
Unfortunately,
has PIPEDA and it has Quebec Law 25. So actually, you do need the consent banner for all your Canada visitors. So I would recommend embracing this stuff because your own home turf has these laws in place. But if you are getting traffic from California, you do need to be aware of this. Now, I am only directly aware of these attorneys sending these demand letters to US based businesses, but I have heard that people from different countries, including I've heard Canada and I've heard the UK being targeted as well. But I've never been able to validate that. So I want to acknowledge that that's rumors to me right now. No one's ever come to me from those areas. So I can't 100% confirm, but there's no the right. I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't do it. There's no that it's California law protecting California residents. So if you've infringed on their rights, they have the right to sue.
great. Uh, okay, two questions left. I do want to leave a couple of minutes at the end for just to talk a little bit more about Termageddon. But first one from Phoebe: if you block California, don't you block all of Google's business services? I have a customer that sells through Google.
Wow.
I don't think so.
No, yeah, I think there's a difference between you loading scripts that happen to be from California versus
Traffic from California.
yeah, a visitor coming from California. I think those operate differently.
Yeah,
But I'm not gonna lie, I can't actually 100% confirm that. So I don't know if anyone wants to do a follow-up where you set up the WAF rule in Cloudflare, assuming WAF even supports state-specific blocking, and then test that out. That's an interesting
yeah,
one. But I don't think my gut says that I think those are different things. So I think those Google-related things will be able to load. How do you test that? Block California, visit the site in a fresh incognito window, test and see if cookies are still loading or not. That'll be
yeah.
a pretty quick giveaway.
Last question from Ben. How will browser privacy settings affect cookie blockers? It seems websites may need to comply with browser-based consent around 2028, 29 in the EU.
So, okay, so first and foremost, I can't help but think about one of the main questions. I'm quite familiar with several attorneys that are, man, they get offended about 100 times a day and submit quite a few lawsuit or demand letters about 100 times a day. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, has anyone ever told them you can just download Brave and not ever be, or, like just download Brave if you're this concerned? You rather than spending all your days suing 100 people a day, like download Brave and visit the websites. Now you don't have to, be suing people all the time. But anyways, those are the thoughts that keep me up at night. Anyways, what did you say it was Ben who asked that question?
Ben, yeah.
Ben is referring, I believe, to the global privacy controls. It used to be, it kind of used to be called do not track signals. Yes, that is going to be a requirement under under certain circumstances. So, and it's happening in the future. Yet another good reason to be when you select a policy and consent provider, like, are they dedicated to monitoring and keeping things up to date? Because this is an ever moving target. CIPA was around for 30 years, but only 2 years ago did they start getting sued. You want to work with a company that's dedicated to monitoring this stuff, breaking the news, and informing on exactly what needs to be done to protect yourself. So
Yeah. All right. Last thing I want to talk about, Hans, is the, I think the reason that we as an agency have been working with Termageddon, and that is, okay, on the one hand, this is incredibly frustrating to have to deal with all of these privacy issues.
yeah,
On the other hand, we have to educate our clients and we need to have a solution. And the Termageddon solution comes with kind of built-in recurring revenue for clients. So, the retail price of Termageddon is $119 a year currently. You sell that to agencies at a discount. You want to talk just a little bit about how the agency partner plan works
yeah.
and how agencies can get a policy?
Yeah, so agencies, everyone who builds websites for a living, go to termageddon.com, click the agency partners tab, and apply to be a partner. You're going to get a free license for your own website. So before you ever give us a dime, we want you to try us out, make sure you like us for your own website, and only if you do, we ask that you consider using our educational material to send that out to your clients and consider us being one of the recommendations. And the good news is that you can buy licenses one at a time at $42.24 a year, I believe. $42.24 a year, and then resell it for the full night, $119 a year. You can share each license with your client. Don't skip that step. Share each license. That way we can notify them directly when new laws go into effect, when and why we're updating their policies. That also lets you wipe your hands and move on to the next client by sharing the license. You say, okay, I don't know why I'm saying this, but you're free, little bird. Like, it's now yours. Like, you now have access, and then you can move on to reselling to the next license. So yeah, we want partners to make recurring revenue. And if reselling is not your jam, we also have the affiliate program. So as an agency partner, you can resell to some clients. You can do the affiliate program for others. The affiliate program is where we do a complimentary onboarding for the customer, where we walk them through everything, and then we pay you recurring commissions. So there's some parts of the program where you never even pay us a dime. In fact, we're the ones who pay you recurring commissions for the lifetime of our referrals. The con to the affiliate program, though, is you make less money every year. Like the reseller program is where you make the most recurring profit.
Yeah. And so it becomes a profit center. And so, that's not a bad thing. We're helping our clients work through the complexity of these issues and putting a solution in place and being around, should there be any issues along the way.
Mhm.
So
And your
it really
client,
can become an income stream for your agency.
yeah, and I love that because it's like there's so many things that are just expected of us in the agency world, and it's like we're turning out like, yeah, we need to be paid for this stuff. Like, and charge a setup fee. A lot of agencies are like, oh, I'm going to waive the setup. No, charge a setup fee. Why? Because I've noticed no difference in conversions. Clients either want this stuff or they don't. So don't sell yourself short by being like, oh, I'll throw in a free implementation. No, you should be charging $200 now these days. 250, I don't know, 300 maybe. I don't know. It's up to you, but charge for your time. Like that, I lost a lot of hair figuring that one out, people, and I'm sure Nathan speaks to that as well. But
Well, yeah. So
oh no, that wasn't a bald comment. That was just like, I know
it's
you teach
truth.
best practices. So
No,
um,
we have been charging $200 to set up Termageddon for our business clients. Nobody pushed back on that at all. For nonprofits, we do it for half that. That
awesome.
was the way we explained it.
Oh, it's so great to
So
hear.
it works and it covers our time. And there is some work needed to make sure the
Mhm.
cookies aren't troubleshoot anything that But yeah, it's become a nice little boost to the first quarter income for us, even though this situation is complex and annoying.
And I'll be here to help, like, yeah, you get stuck. My job is to make you be successful. So like, please know that we'll be here to help you and feel good about this stuff. It's new for everyone. It's just like anything else. You're learning something new. Hopefully you select a good vendor that's going to help you along the way. And once you learn it, it starts to just be like, okay, this actually is making more sense. And
Yeah.
hopefully some of us have walked away today with this. CIPA, get consent for third-party scripts. That's it. Any third parties, anytime you're copying and pasting an embed code, I want all of you having PTSD. Like Hans freaked out about this. I know I should be doing something. Like that's where we need to be at. So
That's great. Well, Hans, this has been wonderful. I really appreciate you being generous with your time today and your knowledge. We've gone a long way, lots of information in the last hour. Any final thought as we're wrapping up?
I'm available. Hans at Termageddon.com. I'm here to help people. Like I know this stuff is scary, and look, I'm not gonna lie, it is a little nerve-wracking, but hey, like let's embrace it. Let's figure out how to do this right. And I tell you, when you install that consent tool and you're testing and you right-click and inspect in a fresh incognito window, you don't see cookies, and then you click accept all and you see all those cookies load, you're gonna feel good knowing I got my clients protected. Like do that stuff. And I'll be here if you have any questions along the way. Thank you all so much.
Absolutely. Well, folks, thanks for hanging out with us for the last hour. All of the questions that you submitted in the office hours form that we didn't get to today, they'll still be waiting for us next week. So we'll start the week with those. Hans, thanks again. I really appreciate your time today. So,
Bring me
folks,
back anytime.
that's gonna do it for office hours today. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back next week for more agency success from hosting.com, where we go further together.